You can start, because it's most people's.
YouTube.
We're live now.
Welcome everyone to our Thursday night live. I know that we're doing this on a few other platforms again tonight. We are on our YouTube if you're here on Ploughman's Backyard, as well as Denbigh View Ranch. They have it on their YouTube as well as their live. So if you're on any three of these platforms, welcome. Tonight's going to be a really interesting topic, how to profit from the homestead. And this is going to be a topic mainly Rob is going to be talking about. He's kind of the numbers guy, and he's done a lot of in-depth kind of on the figures of kind of the profit that you're bringing in from your actual homestead. So we're just going to hand this over to Rob, and he's going to kind of educate us tonight.
Hi guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining us again tonight. Jenny's going to be in and out. She's going to be wrangling kids and dogs when our dog brought us a bone right away, the loudest one he could find. So anyway, Jenny and me went over these numbers a few months back, and then I kind of redid them today. Some things have changed, but we were talking a lot about this previously, and the homestead brings in different types of value and profit. So today I was down in the grocery store, and Kendra and me shared stories about experiences we've seen lately where you've seen food costs skyrocketing, I'm sure, as well as us. In my instance today, the shelves were pretty bare. Butter is crazy. That's, I think,
we were talking maybe in a couple months, the prices really shot up for butter.
Absolutely wild. We were talking what it was go on sale for a couple bucks.
Yeah, like you get on sale for $2. Now you're lucky if you get it on sale for $5.
Yeah. And today I went looking for substitutes for Jenny so that she could make her own butter, and all of those were sold out in the store. So obviously people are on the same, couldn't find 35% cream anywhere. So and while I was in the store, we seen people making life decisions, we'll call it, like people taking one thing in their cart, putting it back, as Kendra has described in her experiences as well. I mean, it's scary to see how high things have gotten, and where they're going to stop, we don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that's, for us, one of the things that's such a blessing being on a homestead or living in the country is the ability to kind of keep your costs down on the rising prices of groceries, whether that be through the use of a garden or, in our experience, and the numbers we'll talk about, which is adding in livestock in the form of chicken, egg layers, or running cattle and pigs. And we've been doing this now. This is going on our third year, and I'm pretty good with figuring the numbers out and tracking our expenses, so we know roughly what we're into for feed. Now, keep in mind, I guess, before we go through it, every area has different expenses. Feed costs change from area to area and year to year. So the last couple of years, grain has been a little higher. When we first started, Jenny's in the background, help me here, a feed tote was $150, 170 or something.
180.
Yeah, 180 for a feed tote. It's now close to 250 these days. So a tote being 500 kilograms. So that's a drastic increase as well. But some areas of the country might be more, might be less. I guess we can start with, what animals do you want us to talk about first? What animals, you think would be the best?
Maybe go from like the least profitable and then end with the most profitable.
Okay.
There you go.
Jetty's laughing in the background.
Egg layers.
Yeah. So egg layers, for us, definitely would be the least profitable, and that's the reason why we don't have them. I know that they're an excellent source of eggs if you eat a lot of eggs. Our family does not, so they're not profitable for us in that way, nor do we see them being profitable to the same degree as some of our other livestock, in like a sales way or a money profit way. So for us, we work the numbers out. I confirmed them with Kendra because we haven't had egg layers in a while. We just do meat birds using our feed numbers based off the internet, and then confirming with Kendra on what a regular egg layer eats. My numbers came in pretty close to what her chickens are going through a week. I did this pricing two different ways. Kendra confirmed it with the bag price of feed, so a 50-pound sack of feed, and we do it in bulk, so through totes. So a tote, you can pick it up at your local feed mill. For us, we get it through the same place we always do, which is Barclay Dix, which is down in Douglas. And our feed totes are 500 kilograms, which is it's half a ton, right? Roughly 1,200 pounds of feed, and you get a much bigger discount on that. So for us, the feed cost per chicken per year, you're looking at $91.25, and your feed, like that's the amount of feed it eats. And the number of chickens that I did the number scenario on is 12. So 12 chickens, 91 pounds of feed each. You're going to need roughly 2 totes to cover that. When we figured out feed losses and confirming with Kendra in the bag form, chickens waste a bit.
Yeah, they do.
And that's just something with every animal, but chickens are notorious for it, in our experience, just kind of picking what they want and leaving the rest. So you're going to take home a $550 roughly feed cost for 12 layers per year. Now, what you're going to get out of those egg layers on average, we guessed barnyard mixes roughly 240 eggs per year per bird, provided you've got no issues, right? Yeah. Which the chicken community probably knows now if you're in it. Jenny's all over it on TikTok, and seeing some of our customers that buy feed from us, they're having issues with their egg layers have stopped laying. And then they switched to our feed or local feed mills, and they're coming back. But people have lost on an average 2 to 3 months where their chickens haven't laid. Yeah. So it's go 250 or 240 eggs per year. It's roughly 20 dozen eggs you're going to get per chicken. It sounds like a lot, eh?
That does sound like a lot.
Like you guys raise them, so you'd know, but what do you do with all those eggs?
We do have lots of eggs, yes. Yeah.
If you go the sales figures to sell your eggs, let's say, because in Ontario here, you could sell it farm to gate sales or at a farmer's market, but you're not allowed to take it and sell it, direct to grocery store without going through the system of blah, blah, blah. So let's say you do good farm to gate sales, you got great customers, and I think your chicken's eggs should be $5 a dozen. I mean, that's what a farm raised egg's worth to me. Yeah. I would buy it for $5 a dozen.
That's what mine are right now.
There you go.
That's a dozen.
And
the thing is, like, we started with 3 and then went up to 4, and now we're at 5, and it's like you can't go any less than that or you're losing.
Well, your time is something we'll talk about here, that it's a lot of time involved, and you don't get paid for that as a farmer most of the time. Chicken feed costs, again, we talked $550 for 12 hens, we'll say. They lay all year for you, so you get 240 eggs per chicken per year. So you sell all of those 20 dozen eggs that you get per chicken, you're going to get a total of roughly $1,200 in money coming in. Your feed expenses are $550, so you're going to end up with $650 in profit. Now, that's where Kendra has talked about, well, there's other stuff you have to do. Yeah. So you've got your costs as well. I'll let you speak to those, like things over and above that.
So that's not even including, like, I buy shavings for my bedding. So you're looking at $8 a bag for shavings. And I usually buy about 4 bags, anywhere, like could be 6 times a year, could be 4 times a year, depending on my needs. Yeah. That's not including that. So that's adding like another $200 $250 to $300 per year in my cost, which then brings my profit down to three something.
And then you've got,
if there's any diseases, if you need any ivermectin, if you need maybe some electrolytes or vitamin water, or sometimes broncho spray if you've got like mites or something like that, or other things, you're then dropping that cost down. So
even further,
it depends. It could vary. And even though it might not really bring in a lot, the nice thing that I do like about having the chickens, I will say, is that there's always the egg source. Like we've always got that.
Yeah.
If nothing else, we've got that. We have a protein source there. The other thing is we don't need to buy our chickens every year.
That's it. So
we might be losing money in a sense that way and looking at profit, because depending on the year and anything disease wise happening, or if you lose a whole flock. But the sustainability of having chickens, to me, outweighs that fear factor of, I can't go to the grocery store and buy these certain things. I do have a source there for food for the family.
That's what I think is really good about running the numbers like that, is the basic costs. Let's say you had to go out and buy 20 dozen eggs a year or whatever else. Well, that's going to cost you a significant amount. But if you can raise that for yourself, you may not be exactly saving money or profiting from those chickens, but you're eating a healthier source, and you're not worried about getting that source of protein. It's there. The eggs are there. And you don't have to go to the grocery store or find funding for it or whatever else, or credit card, whatever else. It's yours. You know where you have it. And that's invaluable to
for me, as long as I can cover the feed costs, and when it comes to selling the eggs, I'm happy, because I enjoy having them. But it does cost money to have chickens and to feed them.
That's right.
So you talk about the lifespan too?
Yeah, so lifespan,
because you have to replenish.
I'm only doing on a per year basis for the major profit, but obviously none of these chickens are infinite. You get 4 good years out of them, usually 4 or 5.
Yeah, so like with the traditional kind of commercial egg layer, I think we've talked about it on other lives.
We have,
you're looking at a good 3, maximum 4 years of egg laying hen. They could live longer, but that's about as much eggs as you're going to get out of a hen. But when you get into your more heritage breeds, they could then produce more eggs for a longer period of time. But then you do need to have that expense if you don't have a rooster, like if you're not able to have a rooster in your location, or if you don't have an incubator, then there's a lot of fees going out to buying new hens every year.
Yeah, and we talked about that. They've increased as well. They're 18 now, roughly, for ready to lays. I mean, for us, I think egg layers are the least profitable to sell to bring money into the homestead, just because it's, you'll see there's more profitable ways that we garnish it. But if you have a space issue, like you live in town, well, egg layers might be your only option. Yeah.
And there is if you get into like a more specialty breed hen or chickens, you can sell. Some birds can go anywhere from I mean the lower end specialty bird can go for about $35 for a ready to lay, which isn't bad if you can sell those types of chickens. But then you get up to like Polish hens, or I don't know if they're called frizzles, you're looking at $80 a hen. So it really depends, because you could bring in a lot of money that way too. That's not something that I do, but I know it is an option and people do it. So
that's something I didn't write down because I didn't know. I knew they were worth money because we have friends that raise a few rare birds, but it's just not something we have the numbers to speak to on. On the next, for us, it would be next up the scale for us, bringing in profit. It'd be meat birds. Meat birds are challenging, so this is like white rocks laying. We're not talking laying hens. We're talking meat birds that you're going to grow to put in your freezer. So again, one of those things is just, we're not taking in cost considerations on your setup. We're assuming that you've already got your fencing, you already have your feeders or waters, and Jay made a good point. You can make do without a lot of that stuff. You can do it really cheaply, and that's why we didn't speak to it. Us, we use Electronet. Electronet's gone crazy. It used to be $160 on sale for a section. Now it's like $300. It's wild, right? Those are things that we didn't add in on these numbers just because. But on your meat birds, it's 9 weeks in return. So 9 weeks from chick to time to go to butcher. For us in Ontario, we're handicapped here in Ontario by the government. We can't butcher our own chickens to sell. They have to be shipped to an abattoir or a licensed slaughterhouse to get slaughtered, so that they're inspected and then sold. And Kendra can speak to that experience, and she's got it as part of our processing video that you guys have on your channel. Yeah. She talks about it. But was what, $7.25 for your bird?
Yeah,
they
it was
you?
Between $7 and $7.50 a hen or a rooster. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think ours ended up being anywhere from 4 to 7 or 8 pounds a bird.
Yeah.
Depending if it was an older hen, it might be about 4 pounds, but
that's your cost of butchering.
Yeah.
That's not including any of the feed. So
and then the cost of driving. I had to go an hour and 15 minutes to go to an abattoir.
Yeah. And for us, we don't sell our chickens that we raise. We raise it to fill the freezer. So we factor in 60 chickens a year for us. So it's 52 weeks in a year. That's 1 chicken a week. 1 chicken we raise, it averages 7 pounds. At 7 pounds, a chicken is good for probably 2 to 3 meals for us. And for us, our total investment into them averages over the last two and a half years around $9 is what our feed cost is to feed one for 9 weeks. So $1 a week on our feed program, including the medicated chick starter. And then we have no butchering costs because we do it all ourselves. And then their freezer bags are included in that fee and whatever else. And in the freezer they go. I get a full freezer. It works out to about 70 cents a pound. Wow. For pasture raised chicken. You can't beat that. I mean, it certainly is a high value item for us. It's a staple in our meals that we cook. We have chicken a few times a week now, more than ever, probably because we have more of it. But
so you're saying 70 pounds a chicken?
7 pounds.
7 pounds
per chicken.
Wow.
And your cost into it is 70 cents per pound. Like that's a pretty.
And then what did you see at the store today?
And at store today, they were $12 for 3 chicken breasts, small chicken breasts, boneless, skinless, with no chicken tender on the inside. So, I mean, it's just, there's no comparison, right? And these chicken breasts did not look great. They didn't look like what we raise, right?
Isn't that? Wow.
So I think.
Sorry, Dana had a comment. For my family, knowing where my food comes from, whether it's birds for meat, eggs, or the pork I raise, makes the difference in cost of buying at the grocery store.
It's true.
Well, 100%, and that's the profit that we're going to see in all of the livestock I want to talk about tonight. Is there's no well, your chicken's this much and it's only this much in store, because everybody that's eating it, including including people like friends of ours that are in the food industry, they said, well, you can't compare these two. The taste is so different. Wow. And that goes for the pork and the beef and the chicken.
I've had people even comment on our eggs. They're like, your yolk is so yellow, it's so dark, and then they're like, I've never had fluffier eggs. And like people do comment on that when they buy them. They notice the difference. It's
excellent. Like we get it from our neighbors. When our neighbors go away, we take care of their chicken. So, and they say, just collect whatever eggs you want. So I'll bring a few home, and I get all excited because it's a dark egg yolk. It's better looking egg. It tastes better. It cooks better. It's a huge difference. And like Dana's saying, I mean, you that's something you can't put a number sign on. No. And we talked about it with the price of food. If you wanted to buy organic, free range, pasture raised eggs or specialty breed eggs, I mean, I couldn't afford to eat it. So for us to raise it and still provide proper nutrition, for us and our daughter, that's a huge bonus, a huge benefit. And there's just no way to put a number on that, really.
No.
I think that's all I've got for the meat birds. If there's any other questions on them.
No, just another comment from Deep Roots Landscaping. They say, Denbigh fried chicken, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I wish. I need a fryer.
Yeah.
Dude, we ended up doing it. Our chicken, the number one meal that Jenny does with it is she uses the Instapot. I know you guys have one too,
We
eh?
have an Instapot,
We got
yeah.
3 of them.
I love them. They're awesome. Well, I don't cook really. Jenny does so. But Jenny will take a whole frozen chicken, throw it in the Instapot. We don't even think about it. You come back an hour later or whatever it is, it's ready to go, and it tastes great. And that's great for when we're working around the farm and we have stuff on the go and we don't have time to do a big meal, but it tastes like a big meal. You know, it's perfect. I guess so. Then we've covered them. We'll go into the next one.
Sure. What's the next one?
So the next one for us is we're gonna go to the pigs. The pigs is they're kind of my little hobby, I guess. I like the pigs. They're my favorite. Today we actually helped a neighbor. He borrowed one of our boars. Well, our only boar, I guess. He borrowed Big Red. He's our Tamworth boar. Went off to couples resort, we'll call it, for a couple months. And you know that sow that's going over there came out of our breeding program as well. So we've done well with our pork. We know it does well. It sells well at markets, and we use a Berkshire breed, which is a heritage pork. Now, before we talk about profit value, and we talk about the differences, our pork, for anyone that's on our Facebook page or that's on our YouTube and maybe seen or tasted what it is, it's unbelievably different than what you get in stores. For myself personally, I love beef. I like a good steak, but I will take a pork chop, like a pork rib chop, over any of our steak. It's red. It's a deep red color. The texture's good. It melts in your mouth. It's Berkshire pork is phenomenal. But that's just my little offside on that. So I raise our pigs indoors in the winter in the barn and outdoors in the summer on pasture. And we use them for mainly they're little plows. Like they plow up and till up around the areas that I need reworked or whatnot. Is throw the pigs in for a bit, and it's better than what a tractor can do. They're unbelievable.
And a tiller too.
Yeah, and a tiller. Yeah. Well, you've seen it, eh? Like pushing old stone fences over. Like these guys are incredible. And they're smart, so you can use minimal infrastructure, like one single strand of electric placed at the right height, and they stay in. Wow. I like the pigs. Pigs are quick as well. So for us, you got your egg layers, which is giving you eggs all year long, which is perfect for a homestead, especially if you only have 1 or 2. You're not trying to do for profit. You just want to keep your eggs. Then it's great to add those in. Then you get your meat chickens. You got your 9 weeks, and boom, your freezer's full after 9 weeks, full of chicken. Then your pigs, there's the next on the scale. So pigs for us, it's 6 to 9 months. 6 months if you're really packing the feed to them, or you're doing hog grower or whatever else. You can do a pig from right out weanling to butcher weight, which is butcher weight. We send them at about 250 to 270 pounds.
Ooh, wow.
You get back 200 pounds of meat in 6 months. Now, I stretched mine out a little longer this year just for timing. So we do them around 9 months. Our neighbor, who we sold some of our sows to, he bought 3 sows, chose the best one to keep, and the other 2 went to butcher last week. They're on the 9 month, so a 9 month mark. They dressed out around 239 pounds. So 239 pounds of meat you can put in your freezer in 9 months. It's a pretty good option, right? With the pigs, the cost on them, I have this pretty well nailed down. We've done pigs for a few years. We've done a lot of pigs. We sold, 4,500 pounds of pork last year. We move a lot, and we sell all farm direct sales, which is market or to customers directly. It doesn't go to sale barn. So our piglet costs, this is where things are going to get a little different. So most people, especially homesteads, they want piglets in the spring. They feed them all year, and then they butcher them in the fall. There's a cost to that. Piglets in the spring sell for a premium. Usually 150 is probably what you're going to pay for a piglet in the spring. I think that's a lot of money. That's what the market is demanding these days. So you got 150 in a piglet cost. A cost for us to feed one piglet from right when you get it at 4 weeks old as a weanling to butcher time, it's $250 with our fee tote. And then we add mineral. So our mineral bag we use, it's a hog mineral or a kelp meal, depending on what we use. Sometimes we mix a bit of both. We have the kelp meal for the cattle. So it's about $80 a bag for that. So your feed cost total input on your pigs is going to be $480 if you buy it in the spring. That's what's going to cost you to take your pig to butcher. Out of that, in our area, pork is usually selling between $6 and $8 a pound. So we'll go on the low end. $6 a pound, you're going to get back a minimum usually of 200 pounds of meat. That's going to give you $1,200 of value that you threw in your freezer for a total investment of $480. So you're up significantly on that. The other thing you add to that too is for a homestead, pigs are an excellent animal. Every part of them is useful, front to back. The pig fat or pig lard, it goes in for soaps. You can make soap out of it. And Jenny does the skincare products with hers. There's on our Facebook, you've probably seen it. It's called Piggy Balm. She sells it out of our feed hut, and it's a huge benefit for a lot of people. We have quite a few people that buy it off of us, and they've had really good results. Pig skin is very similar to ours. Pig lard does a great job. It works wonders for it. Then there's candles. So soy wax and pig lard, you can make candles out of it. So there's benefits in that as well. You could sell them, but for a homestead, you're probably going to want to keep that stuff for yourself, right? But let's say you get an extra couple $100 in value there. Now you're up $1,400 in each pig for your investment of $480 in the spring. You're going to walk away with $920 in profit, roughly. Now, out of that, let's say you want to sell that pig to a customer. Well, you can't butcher it yourself. Now you've got to go to a butcher. So you're going to have a transport costs. You're going to have a butcher fee, which is usually 85 cents a pound per pound hanging weight, which is the 220 to 250, whatever you have. And then $1.75 per pound for every piece of meat you want smoked. Let's say you want smoked bacon or smoked hams, then there's money on top of that. Our average butcher fees, we did it in like bulk groups of pigs going, so it's hard to really get a readout per pig. But Jenny might have give me the one for 3. There we go. There we go. So our total cost to get 3 pigs butchered, this is on the low end, the smaller side, was $1,273, and that's with a lot of smoking. So we smoked all the bacon, which you can take home roughly 25 pounds of bacon per pig, which is what we average. We do it like, that's the nice part about doing this. You can do it thick cut. You can cut it any way you want at a butcher. So we do it that way. So that was 3 pigs. So that's the $1,200 divided by 3. You're not bad. It could be expensive if you add in sausage though. Sausage is $3 extra a pound. Oh, wow. So you're better off to butcher it for yourself and throw it in your freezer. If you do want to sell it, you have those fees. They'll cut into most of the profit. So then we'll take $100 off of that if you raise them in the wintertime. And that's a minimum of $100 because in the wintertime, all they do is eat and sleep. They just lay in the barn, eat and sleep, and they don't they don't waste any energy really because they're just hanging out. Pigs are pretty docile, we find in the wintertime, the summertime. They're into everything. Jenny's chasing all the gardens if they're not fenced right or whatever. But wintertime, if you buy your pigs around September timeframe, you can buy them from most farmers for any size, roughly $50. $50, it's almost butcher weight because that farmer wanted to get it into butcher in the fall. He doesn't want to have to deal with the pig all winter. So you can really get a bargain buying your pigs then. Using them, feeding them through the winter, you get access to butcher dates all winter long because not as many people are picking butcher dates in the winter. So you have a ton of time frame then. So if you are going to do hogs and plan to sell, my recommendation would be to buy in the fall, raise them in the winter, and sell them in the spring. Just how we run it. And you're, usually $100, $200 is what you're going to save doing it that way per pig. And it adds up when you add in a few, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Any questions there, Jen?
So there's a couple of comments. Dana mentions fresh pork lard is the best for baking too.
Yes.
Deep Root Landscaping says the bacon makes it worth it.
Yeah.
And then Dana also had a question about did you notice a big difference between winter pork and summer/fall pork?
Not really, no. They're about the same in what we do. I mean, yes, there's people that swear by bush pigs are the best, and that's what the Polish call them, bush pigs, because they're raised out in the woods on pasture, eating grubs and whatever else. For us, we don't notice as much of a difference because they get hay and straw and mineral, kelp meal, and the whole 9 yards. And our feed is not just pure hog grower. Our feed is all no animal byproduct. This is our feed is just whole grains. So they're getting a little bit more through that. They don't get the grubs and whatever, but they're not eating just pure stuff. Yes, what he's probably leading into, and I hear what you're saying. We've seen some people, especially customers that were leery on that. They've had it where the pig was fed hog grower, kept in a dirty barn, too cramped of a space, and then the pig didn't taste good. It had a horrible texture because it was raised like that. You can avoid it by choosing the right feed, keeping on top of your pens, making sure they're bedded properly, access to fresh water, and the number one thing is to make sure your male pigs are castrated, because you have something that's called boar taint. It affects, between 10 and 15% of pigs. They get what's called boar taint, which is like a horrible smell that's throughout the meat.
Wow.
Yeah.
His dad calls it pissy pork.
My dad calls it pissy pork, yeah. And my dad was a butcher for 45 years or whatever. And Dad would say, you get a few cases come into the store at work of pork. You open the box, smell it, close it, say, oh, that's no good, can't sell that because it smelled bad. So if you buy pork from the store and it smells bad, it's just think that the butcher didn't smell it. Not everybody can taste boar taint or smell it, but it is a thing. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Any further questions before we go?
No, not. Dana has a comment. Pissy pork, exactly.
There you go. Yeah. And so it definitely, like, for me, I like the pigs. It's good money. Nobody, like, I bet you at the farmer's market, if we really tried hard, we could probably start a fist fight over the bacon. It's that good. I almost cried when I realized we didn't save enough, Jenny? It was, I was like, I opened the fridge door one day. I'm like, hey, there's no bacon. She whispered from top, we sold it all. And I was like, what? What do you mean we sold all the bacon? Like, we screwed up.
We have planned this year, though.
Yeah, this year we planned it properly. But anyway, we won't run into that problem. Pork is good. It's a great way to get your name out there in the farm, like to get your farm name or homestead name out. You can raise really good pork by choosing the right breeds. They don't take a lot of space. They're an intelligent animal. They're not like sheep. They're fairly hardy. I highly recommend pork, adding it to the homestead. And like we brought up, all those things are really, really good to add as products. The one other thing that pigs can do with the leaf litter. So leaf litter is pork fat, but it's a certain part of the pork fat that gets mixed in with, if you're going to do venison sausage, bear sausage, wild game, if you want to cut that to make it taste a little better or add a little bit of fat flavor to it. Let's say you've got, you want to make homemade burgers out of your grass-fed finished beef. You want to add a bit of your pork fat to it. The leaf litter is awesome, and you get a lot of it off of each pig. So that's really all I got for that.
Do you want to know what it is?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, so it's on the inside.
Inside of the leg, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is where the fat.
Where it's kind of is. It's bumpy. It looks funny, but
It's
that's
the easiest one to render because the skin, like the fat that's on the skin, you have to like carve it off of the skin, and it's difficult to get off. But that, cube it up, good to go.
Yeah, it works great. And you got your thing there?
She's got her piggy bomb.
I always
there.
look at these.
That's a piggy bomb, but it's just like a soy wax and lard. And that's your skincare product, and we use it this time of year, especially where everything's super dry, right? But anybody can make that. Jenny does a few batches out of our pig fat, and does it up, and we use it in the wintertime, especially like when you're looking at moisturizer and stuff. You don't know what's in it. Well, I know what's in that. It's 2 things, right?
Wow.
Or 3 things. So that's really the next biggest profit you can add to a homestead is adding a pig. All of the animals do a great job. Pigs are really useful. They do bring a profit. And if you don't want to raise a pig to eat it, let's say you run out of, you grow a heart or you don't want to eat them or whatever else, and you want to just run a pig breeding program and you want the benefits of the pig. So pig manure is excellent to add in with stuff. For your compost, you want to use them for land clearing, especially if you got a couple acres of heavily forested stuff. Run pigs through it; they'll clear that thing out for you.
If you don't have a tractor to move your compost,
pigs will do it too.
Those pigs will do it.
Yeah. So let's say you want to do it that way. The numbers on piglets. So each sow is going to have roughly 6 to let's say 10. Heritage pigs have less sows than commercial breeds, but heritage pigs are in demand, so you get a little bit more for each piglet. Our sows averaged 7 piglets this last breeding season. We sold ours on the lower end just because I didn't want to get stuck with a whole bunch over the winter time because I knew I had surgery and whatever else, and Jenny was gonna have to take care of them. So we went $80. We sold each piglet for $80. Most of the time, though, you're gonna breed them in the spring. You're gonna get $150 minimum per piglet. Out of that, let's say you get 7 times 150, you're going to be over $1,000 in it. Then you're going to feed your sow. She's going to take 2 totes of feed a year, so roughly $500 in feed, $160 in mineral, and $50 in straw for bedding. And that's a $420 profit raising pigs, raising a litter of pigs, and that sow stays with you, and you can have her again. And for those, before we get a question on, well, what about breeding? Just like now, I lent my boar to the neighbor, and the deal is he keeps it for 2 heat cycles. He feeds the boar for 2 months. I don't charge him anything. It's just a farm trade. That's in most cases you're going to find that too. So it's really there's no cost in a boar. Let's say 2 months of feed is $7 a pound. It's not that much, and it's $420 for a litter of piglets after all your expenses and keeping the sow for a year, plus you get the benefits she provides. That's an easy way to do it too. And a lot of people just raise piglets. They don't raise from weanling to finish because of that. Yeah. Any questions before we move off the pig?
Just one comment on how to profit from the homestead. David Knight says, "Hi, if you want to make $1 million homesteading, start with $2 million."
Yeah, usually. Yeah, 100%. Dave's bang on. Like more. I think you can do it probably on a smaller scale homesteading to make a little bit of money to save on your groceries. Mm-hmm. As soon as you get into farming, there's no money in farming unless you're like giant. Really, I mean, it's not. It's a hobby
with more than just one specific.
Yeah, because how do you say to somebody, "Well, I'm going to charge you now for my 3 hours a day of labor times 9 months." It's just you're doing it as a hobby, and that's why most farms in Canada are ran by people 65 plus who's doing it as a hobby. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just the way it is. There is a bit of money in cattle, and that probably is a good time to lead into our next question or our next topic, which is cows. And before I go into that, I want to talk about cattle requires more facilities. They require a little bit more equipment. Now, you can do it with less, but let's assume you already have a homestead. You've already got the land. You already have a truck or a trailer or a tractor or an ATV to move the fencing or something like this. We're going to say that you have at least something to manage most of the cattle's needs, waterers, feeders, etc. So going with that, you're a small homestead, you now have all those things, and you say, okay, I want some cows. There's many, many different breeds of cows, and numbers are going to change for every different breed you go with, right? We have experience with Dexters. We started with them because they're the smallest breed of cow. They're supposed to be the most or the easiest cow to sort of raise as a homesteader. They're also a dual purpose breed. So that means they're good for meat and dairy. And at some point they were used as oxen, but those days are long gone. So, our page has a lot of videos that you would have seen at the beginning of, the small Dexter bulls, and the Dexters are small, they're manageable size, they are incredibly intelligent, which is good and bad. But we like the Dexter breed, and we would say if you're a homesteader looking at small scale raising Dexters or raising cattle on your own, that's the breed I would push. We've raised Highland, and Highland can be challenging, especially with fencing. Highland cows, they'll jump a 4-foot fence if they feel like it. The electric fence means nothing to them. They're basically in on goodwill. I mean, Thorhaven he's probably going to say, no, you're full of crap, but this is our experience. We had one there, his name was Rocky, and he was in just because everybody else was. They didn't care about the fencing. It was just an obstacle that if he needed to get through it, it was fine. Yeah.
Environment makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So if they're in a pen and they're eating hay all day long, they're happy. That's okay. But we are pushing them to graze.
Yeah.
And to mob graze. So it's a whole different story. So it depends on where you're at.
Yeah.
True.
So Dexter's also, which leads into Jenny's talking about mob grazing. We do regenerative grazing on this ranch because it's been, it's coming up close to 200 years. This place has been an active farm in one way, shape, or form. But the last probably 50 years, there hasn't been a lot of input in it at all. So, and it was almost vacant for the last few years. So we use the cattle to graze down some of those poor quality forages, some of that heavy brush, raspberry patches that were just widely overgrown all over the place. Dexters are like the goats of the cattle world. Wow. Those buggers eat just about anything, and they're feed efficient, which brings me to the next kind of getting in the numbers. Let's say you want to be a homestead, you want to homestead your cattle, you're living off grid, you don't want nothing to do with nobody, living the dream, we'll call it. And you say, all right, I don't want to deal with somebody else for a bull. I want my own bull. I want my own cow. I want to get a calf every year. Okay, you can do that. I've worked the numbers out. That's 3 head of cattle. Dexter cattle, that's the key. Dexter cows, you're going to be roughly 20 pounds of hay per day is what they're going to take. I worked these numbers out considering that you're going to have them in a pen and be feeding hay 365 days a year without using any grazing. Obviously, you're going to have some grazing, this and that. That's why the cattle, I priced it out as considering it being a yearly basis instead of 18 months. Long story short, the heifers are 18 pounds of hay per day is what a Dexter heifer requires for that. The steers and the bulls are 25 pounds of hay per day. And trust me, they sit at a feeder and eat. That's what they do. Now, when you get a cow means she's had a calf or has had calves in the past. That's considered a cow. A heifer is a cow that's female that has not had a calf yet. Okay. A steer is a male cow that's been castrated. So he's no longer got his parts. And a bull is a male bull that's used for breeding. So those are the terminology. You want to go with a cow. When you're buying a Dexter, you're going to want good breed genetics. A good quality Dexter cow will run you, let's say $1,000 to $2,000. Kind of tops. I wouldn't pay any more than that for one. Certain times of the year, you can almost get them given to you, especially in the winter. The bulls, you can find good quality Dexter bulls all over the place. There's a lot of them here in Ontario now. Southern Ontario is full of them. Eastern Ontario, our area, Jenny, there's a lot that are out this way now.
Oh, Manitoba.
They're
all over the place.
They're everywhere.
There's a whole Facebook page on them.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So you're going to want a good bull and a good cow. You start with those two things. After 9 months, you're going to have your first calf. So now you've got a cow, a bull, and a steer or a heifer calf. It doesn't matter. You're going to raise that for 18 months before you can put it in the freezer. The cost to raise your bull, your cow, and your calf in hay is 20,000 pounds of hay per year. Oh, wow. It sounds kind of scary, right? So that's $6 per square bale is what we are here. If you go to a farmer that does large squares down in Renfrew, You can usually find them for about $6. If you convince them to sell to the small guy, then you can do $6. If you go to a feed store, forget it. It's like $15 a square bale.
Yeah.
It's just, that's how much they are. So let's say you're $6 a bale. Most of the times you can find them for that, especially if you locate your hay guy in the summer at the right
4 to
time.
6. 4 to
Yeah, 4 to 6. So it's 406 squares for those 3 cows is what it's going to take to feed them 365 days a year. That cost is going to be $2,436. That's your hay cost. That doesn't include your mineral cost. Mineral, you can do the salt blocks. They're not that expensive, or your feeders or whatever, like we talked about. That's kind of high. If you have the equipment, like we talked about before, where, now I get to talk, you're going to want a tractor that can lift a bale of hay. This is where that comes into play. You get a tractor that can lift a round bale of hay, and you buy round bales. You're only going to need 34 round bales, and you can buy them for $40 a bale. So that's $1,360. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, that's a savings.
That a couple years and you paid for your old tractor. So you got 34 rounds. At 18 months, you're gonna take that first calf to butcher. That calf is gonna butcher a carcass weight or hanging weight, they call it. That's pretty well what you're gonna put in your freezer, between 280 and 350 pounds of meat. I did the numbers, ranging it out at 300 pounds of meat. Grass-fed and finished heritage beef sells for $10 a pound. That's what it costs if you were to buy it. You can buy junk from Argentina and Mexico at Walmart cheaper, sure, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about good quality, high protein beef, and it's cut the way you want it. So if you want an 1.5-inch cut steak, that's the way you can tell your butcher to cut it, right? You're going to get porterhouse, ribeyes, T-bones, all the stuff that I can't afford if I was to buy it in the store. You get it off of your cows, and that's a huge bonus, especially for us as braised beef ribs. When short ribs, sorry,
Or braising ribs.
Jenny makes those ribs, like, cancel my day, I'm showing up for them. Don't bug me at that point, because they're amazing. Anyway, so you're going to run into that at 300 pounds, $10 a pound. That's $3,000 is what that calf is worth if you were to sell it, or if you put it in your freezer. Your total investment in that, it's only going to be $1,360.
Wow.
So you're up money if you're in rounds, right? Obviously, it's $2,436 is if you go small squares. So again, buy a tractor. Anyway, just saying, you can manage with that.
You don't need a tractor. You need a truck. You absolutely need a truck.
A truck or a trailer, an SUV with a trailer,
Yes.
to pick up your round bale. The farmer will load the hay bale on for you, but you're going to need to find a way to get it off. That's all. And those round bales are, I didn't do $400 junk round bales on the budget. Like, I'm budgeting a 500, 600 pound round bale, well packed, good quality forage. All hay is different. You want to buy good hay, it's worth the extra investment. You can buy $20 round bales. Those are not going to feed your cattle appropriately. You want to buy good quality stuff. So now you've got a $3,000 worth of beef. But on top of that, you've just milked that cow because the Dexters put enough milk out to provide for the calf and for you to take for your family. So you've got milk, you've got cheese, you've got butter, you got cream, you got all the things associated out of that. On top of that, those guys are going to clear your lawn. I haven't started a lawnmower here since we bought the place. I cut hay and that's it. But there's obviously a good comment. Jay's laughing.
Yeah, so Kendra needs a cow. That's what Dave says.
I've been telling her this, Dave, for a long time.
Cows.
And Dana, you're going to start a fight here, I think. But everyone needs a tractor. Laugh out loud.
Yeah. See? So when you,
The Dana and Rob show.
yeah,
We should.
we'll just talk old tractors.
That's
Yeah.
right. I think Dave would
Nobody
be in
would
there
watch,
too.
but we'd enjoy it.
They would be there.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
that's
he
true.
would.
Dave would be
Yeah.
there. Yeah. But so you've got, out of that, you've got all your dairy products, which right now in the store, looking at it, I literally went, "Are you serious?" about 3 times in No Frills today. And some old lady looked at me like, "Is he talking to himself?" Like, but literally, I couldn't believe it. Like, it's just out to lunch. And I was literally watching somebody looking through the milk sections, and he went all the way to that horrible stuff they call almond milk and whatever crap that is not milk, because that's what he could afford. He couldn't buy the stuff like he wanted, the 2% from Brooms Dairy. Anyway, So, I mean, that's huge. I'm
Yeah.
almost regretting us selling that milk cow. We had an excellent milk cow that would stand in the field and milk, but oh well. Well,
Yeah, the non-dairy person had to milk it.
that's it. Yeah.
The one that wants those almond milk and whatever else. Thank you.
She liked Jenny the most. She did. She loved Jenny, that cow. But she's just down the road, so at least we know where she
There
is.
you go.
And the other thing that you can add on top of the value-added product is hides. Cow hides sell for good money. And Dexter's being a horn breed, you want to buy a horn Dexter cow. Honestly, the horns haven't caused us problems. This is a huge fight all over the internet about horns, non-horn, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, Jenny, we've never had anything gutted or whatever. We haven't been poked by them or whatnot. They're very conscientious of where their horns are. They don't wreck them in the feeders or whatever. They're good that way. But
It's healthier for the animal.
that's right. That's a whole topic. It's from the research we've done. Horns are healthier for the animal. They serve a purpose.
Oh, yeah.
Now, a horned cow, when you butcher it, the skull with horns is going to bring value. So you can blanch the skull, you bleach it white or whatever, you boil it off, you put the horns on, and you have a mount. That mount, we've been offered $450 for the one we just did off of our last horned cow.
Wow.
So that's another value that's added to there that you can sell. And I mean, how many horn heads do you want hanging in your house, right? I'm not into it myself. So it's a good product to sell. That's $450. That just paid for most of your chickens, right? So
Yeah.
you want to look at that as your options. Then you've got manure on top of it. Cow manure, you have a pig, you got pig manure, and you have chicken manure. You got the trifecta of things that you want to add a compost pile and manure pile to really kickstart your gardens. Now, I don't have sheep, but they would be the next option to have too. Now you've got lawn care. I don't have to have a lawn tractor anymore. We fence off the area. The cows come in, they graze it all down. I don't have to start it. I don't have to maintain it. I don't have to waste time doing it. That's priceless to me. I hate doing it.
Mm-hmm.
We use the horses in spots where we don't want the cows. So that's a good option, a good thing that adds value and profit to the homestead as well. When we talk sheer numbers on it, you've got $3,700 in profitable items or value that you've got out of that cow, and you're going to take off your cost of hay. I'm going to assume that most people are going to go rounds, or they'll find a way to make it work, just because you're going to save almost $1,000 going that route versus the squares. So you've got $1,264 off of that $3,000, and the remainder's yours. You make good money on that, right? You're making, almost $2,400 or whatever per cow, a calf that you put in your freezer. Now, if you want to butcher it and sell it, let's say you have a trailer and you're able to transport yourself to butcher, and you have a client that wants to buy half of that cow or the whole of that cow, and that's going to pay you $10 a pound for it, or you sell it piece by piece at farmers markets, you can sell that as pure profit. The only thing coming off on your butcher fees is about $250, right? It's 85 cents a pound to get it done. So there's about 100, but it varies depending. So usually, if you ask for the horn and stuff back, you have to go to somewhere where they charge a higher kill fee, because not everybody wants it. But anyway, so that's one way to do it. That's doing your beef with a bull. This is self-sufficient, never going to need anybody else. No, not going to worry about it. Dexter cow will provide you with a calf for up to 18 years. Wow. Some of them live up to 20 providing a calf. A bull is good for probably 10 years. They get pretty crusty after that. We have, so you've got a long span to be able to keep these livestock going. If you want to go just a cow and a calf, and you're going to borrow somebody's bull, and there's lots of them out there. Somebody's always looking to get that bull off their farm during certain times of the year where they don't want their beef bred or whatever. So you can borrow a bull, or you can ship your cow out somewhere to get bred, or you can use artificial insemination, and you only want to do a cow and a calf, and that's your milk cow now. Your cost coming in significantly less. So your initial investments in hay, it's only 13,000 pounds of hay. It's almost half as much without running a bull, right? That's 278 squares. So $1,664 total cost in hay. If you're running rounds, that's only 24 rounds. That's $960. Your calf is going to bring you the same value, so you're taking home $2,740 if you do rounds in value. So you're better to go that route, and that's why you need a cow. Yeah.
That's why I need a cow.
Yeah.
Dave Knight says, "I want to be a bull in my next life."
Yeah. They don't do much. They just
They eat.
they eat,
moan, and
they
then
eat,
work.
moan, and chase women.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. The cat.
Now, does the cost change now that you've moved to the Belted Galloways?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, big time. Like our Fernando weighed, I don't know what, 1,200 pounds. He was heavy, like our little Dexter bull. Like his brisket just about drags on the ground. And I ran into his new owners today at the store, and we were chatting, and he hasn't left the feeder. She said he looks like he's going to give birth to a square bale kind of thing. Like that's kind of how he is, right? Like this time of year, he's not working, so he really puts the muscle and fat on.
Wow.
But he weighed 1,200 pounds. Our new bull is he's almost over 2,000 pounds. That's a significantly more hay going to Belted Galloways, right? The difference is though is our Belted Galloways, they don't have horns, so you don't have that cost in skull. But we're looking at going larger quantities of cattle. So I'd like to be able to go, yeah, I got 10 calves ready. I only need 2 to go in the freezer, and 8 or let's say 7 and 1 is coming for us, are going to go to auction and sell. Well, at auction with no horns and that breed, they'll sell well. So that's why we went that route. Yeah. I think that's it, Jenny. There's no other reasons really. They look pretty. That's what Jenny says. They look pretty. Yeah. The Belteds are really
They're not
pretty.
as smart as the Dexters. The Dexters can be like sometimes almost too smart.
Yeah, like annoyingly
And
smart.
challenge you a little bit.
Wow.
Like George knows how to get up in the second story of the barn, but he doesn't know how to get down. Like he's stupid. But anyway.
Today he was playing with the electrical cord just because he could.
Yeah, that's a Dexter. They're a little bit more intelligent. The Galloways they're not as like super friendly.
They're quieter.
They're more leery of people, but I would say they're not as intelligent. Like they get shocked by the fence once, well, all right, I'm good. Where a Dexter's like, well, I might just test you today to see if I could jump through that fence today. And now I'm sitting at the campfire and there's a friggin', I go, Jenny, look, there's a calf looking at me. This was a couple of years ago. And she said, what? And they had like 3 strands of electric, and he just decided, I'll just crawl through that. That's fine. Like that's Dexter's. They're a little smarter than a Galloway. Galloway's a little easier to work with for us.
That's good.
If there wasn't hay in the pen right now, he'd probably be out as well.
George, yeah.
No.
Oh, the little man.
No,
Yeah, yeah, he would. And that's the other thing with Dexters too. They're so small. Commercial style feeders and stuff don't really work for them. You've got to kind of build your own or buy sheep stuff because they're that's that much smaller. But very good options. I like the cattle. I think if you want to add profit to the homestead, you've got 1 cow for yourself. You add in a calf. That calf you take to sell, and there's where your money's going to come from, right? You can do market gardens and stuff, like we've been hitting around at the idea of it, but really the cattle are an excellent profit adder to a homestead. I mean, we brought them initially in because Jenny has horses, so I thought, well, we need something to help offset the cost of those hay burn and things. I mean, pets, but yeah. So that's kind of what we did, and the cattle's helped in a way. You stink, Mo. Mo is our little pup fell asleep below us, and he's giving us the other side of having livestock. Mo likes to eat pig manure. So if you have dogs, that's one thing with pigs. There's a lot of grain stuff in their manure, and their feed is all grain, right? It's very similar to dog food. So they're in it whenever they get a chance.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Any questions that come out of that, Jay?
Not that I see yet. Not sure. Did you have any thoughts on?
No, so I guess we're kind of looking at profit on the homestead as what we're kind of bringing into the house, not so much as income.
Yes.
So that's like a whole nother topic, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Like when you can raise $3,000 worth of beef, that I couldn't go out and buy $3,000 worth of beef every year. You know, I can raise it for $1,000 and eat like a king. Well, I'll do it. That makes sense to me. That's the profit that I see in raising cattle. Pigs are the same. And we talked about with gardens too, right? Like being on a homestead, we talked before the video started kind of how fortunate being homesteaders and having some property and living rural is, especially in today's markets. Like, you know, we're able to say, well, tomatoes are too much. We'll throw some tomato plants in and grow them. I feel really bad for people that are in apartments that are just stuck bearing the brunt of these costs at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we were talking about kind of weighing the pros and cons of, like, even if I have a couple different jobs that I do, but you know, I recently had to give up you know, just a casual job that I picked up because spring is coming up and I got a garden, and I'm thinking, you know, the little bit of money that I'm making on the side from this, and it's taking away a lot of the garden time. Strangely enough, like, we would make more profit growing all those crops in the summer than I would having that little casual job on the side. And that sounds really weird because most people are like, well, why wouldn't you just go buy your food with the money that you're making? And I'm like, that's the thing. When you garden, when you have, well, how much you said today, how much cucumbers were?
Yeah, it was $6.99 for those little buggers like that. Like, I couldn't believe it.
So $6.99 for what? Maybe 6 little tiny
yeah,
cucumbers?
it was 5 or 6 in there.
And I usually plant about 2 to 3 cucumber plants, and I have so many. You know, like, and that's the thing, if you're not wasting it, it's just all profit, right? So whether you're doing pickles or relish or anything like that with those, to me, like, it just, the profit outweighs everything else. So just being able to have that time, because a lot of times, like, even us, we sit here and we think about, you know, how do you, and I know Dana's brought it up too, like, how do you make income on your homestead? Because there's a lot of time and effort, and then there's sacrifice of that time, whether you could be spending it somewhere else making some income. But then again, you're never going to be able to compare the food that you're growing, raising, compared to what you're going to go buy in the store. Right? Like, how many times have you seen, and I've done it, where, like, I'll go to the reduced section and I'll get, you know, a couple bags of $2 tomatoes or something in the reduced section, you know, during the winter. But how many times do you see a lot of, like, elderly people in the reduced section buying, like, bruised, moldy, reduced food? You know, like, you can't compare the food that you can grow at your own home to because the prices are astronomical, and then you don't even know if you're getting good quality vegetables or meat.
I remember growing up as a kid, you know, there was me and my brother as you know, teenagers, we'll say. Mom would have 2 shopping carts, and it would be like, you know, $80 to $100, and we'd leave the store on that, and we'd have everything. I mean, now for the 3 of us, and you guys are a family of 3 as well, you can't leave the grocery store with next to nothing for a couple $100. And today it will really hit home. I seen it a few months ago when we were down in Northbrook, and there was a guy that was, you could tell he was making some serious decisions, and his cart was almost empty. And this was an elderly gentleman, fairly well dressed, and he wasn't the only one in the store then. And now costs have gone so much higher. And I seen it in No Frills today, and we figured out why it was so busy. It was, you know, the old age pension come out, I guess. So I seen it in No Frills in Walmart, and I mean, these guys are really making tough choices.
Jason and I were in Pembroke this past week at the No Frills, and, like, I watched this man go around with his cart, and, you know, he might have had like tin foil, a loaf of bread, cheese, some milk, like just a really small amount in his cart. And he would go, and he's looking at the shelf. So he's looking at the milk, and you can see him, he's just looking at the pricing or whatever he's looking at. And he looks at his cart, and then he grabs the carton or the carton of milk, and he puts it down, and then he grabs the tin foil, and then he walks over to the shelf and he puts it back. And then I watched him go over, to the bread section, and he's looking, and he takes his time. And I was watching because Jason and Hannah were doing something, so a little minute I'm just watching this man. And then he picks something else off the cart or off the shelf, put it in the cart, and he's staring at his cart, and he took something else out of his cart and he put it back. And I'm thinking, like, that makes me really sad that has gotten to that point where you can't buy like tin foil, like he put it back for the sake of grabbing milk. And I'm thinking, like, wow. And then it makes me feel really fortunate that we have the ability to be able to grow our own food here.
Yeah. So even though when you look at moving, onto the farm full time or doing it full time, well, let's say you just made all your chicken, you made all your pork and all your beef because you spent time at home raising it, and you cut all that out of your grocery bill. Well, that saves you a couple $1,000s a year. Then you save your dairy. Then you grow your own vegetables. Like, the largest expense now in households is fastly becoming groceries.
It's groceries, 100%.
Now you get to the next part of the homestead. You heat with wood heat. We heat with wood heat. There's no propane or oil that we have it as a backup, but
so do we.
I'm at home cutting firewood. Well, every stick of firewood is $1 less in heat or oil.
It's true.
So even though you might not be getting the dollars on the front end of a $70,000 a year job, well, you don't have travel expenses to go to that job every day. You don't have insurance and vehicle maintenance. You don't have time away for your family. You don't have the ability to grow your own food because you don't have time to put a garden in, and you can't take a week off to go cut your firewood for the year or whatever else without sacrificing. So you might not make it in value that way, but in what you're putting in is different. Yeah. And if you get $70,000 a year, but groceries cost you $20,000 a year, and you're trying to save money on it, and you're not doing it through healthy choices, you're going to end up eating peanut butter sandwiches and grilled cheese and pasta and junk because that's the way it is.
Yeah. So
really, I think it's as a profit, you're profiting from a better lifestyle.
You are yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we're fortunate to be in that situation, I think. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's other things that, times are tough sometimes because you don't have the ability, like, for me and my previous profession, like I go away on a trip for a few months and make some extra money and come home and go, like, let's do this and that and whatever. And it was there, but times are different now.
Yeah,
like groceries didn't cost what they cost back then.
Yeah.
Nor did the diesel, nor did fuel, nor did whatever. Things are drastically more expensive.
They are.
Yeah.
And this is where I think that it is so important. Like, if you are thinking, I know that the people on here today, they kind of already living in this lifestyle, but if you are watching it later on and you are thinking about doing this lifestyle, you are probably going to have to make sacrifices, but there is no greater feeling than the fact that you can put some food on the table without having to rely on the store. Like, there's not a better feeling out there than doing that.
There's nothing better than opening that freezer and going, okay, I'm good.
Well, how many freezers do you have right now full of your meat or whatever?
What do we have, Jenny? 4? 3.
4, but I would say 3 of them were actually full of meat.
3 is meat. The rest is veggies and stuff that she's put away.
Now, would the average person be able to afford 3 freezers full of meat today?
No.
To fill their family?
No. Not at all.
I don't know. What does that cost us right now?
So the cost is there's 2 beef. And
there's only 1 now.
Well, what we've eaten, probably a whole.
I would call it 1 whole.
So 1 whole, that's 3,000. And then you've got a whole freezer full of chicken, which is
70 of them now.
70 chickens left. And a chicken, pasture-raised chicken, whole chicken is worth
20 to 35.
20 to 35, yeah. I couldn't afford to stock that.
You couldn't afford to eat the way that you're eating today.
No.
Without this lifestyle.
No.
And so that's where the profit is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm not eating hamburger every night. Like, Jenny's cooking porterhouse. We had braised beef ribs, short ribs, porterhouse steaks, T-bone steaks. I mean, we're eating good.
Where's the invite?
Yeah. I mean,
I just made jerky. baby. So
Like,
I send you home with that.
I don't stay this big for no reason, right? Like, and we eat good, and that's really the benefit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and my daughter eats a healthy meal and goes to school every day with a full belly and proper nutrition.
And you know what's being put into your products,
Yeah.
which is key. Like, yeah.
So Dana was just mentioning that that's exactly what I'm trying to wrap my head around. Working 50 hours a week, then tending gardens and animals takes a lot of the day.
It does.
And can become overwhelming. I want to be able to live from the homestead alone. And his other comment, we're running 4 chest freezers also. I couldn't afford to fill them from the store for certain.
Yeah.
And then Dave Knight, has a comment. I was out back hunting foods, and up from the ground came up bubbling curd.
Brew.
Right?
He's talking Beverly Hillbillies.
Oh.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah, we're hillbillies. We'll call it like it is. Yeah. But the thing that goes, like, we started before we did homesteading, we did hunting. So I just renewed all my hunting licenses this week.
Wow.
Holy jeez.
Yeah,
Like, it was almost $500 before the time I got my hunting license, and fishing license, renewal, small games, firearms renewal. I was like, holy, like, wow. I haven't even put gas in the truck or bullets in the gun to go hunt yet. Like, I can raise a cow for cheaper than I
And
just
you're not
got my
guaranteed
license
you're
for.
going to get anything.
And it's a gamble. Yeah. It's a gamble.
At least with fishing, it's not as expensive, but for the rest of it,
I don't know. Like, it depends if you fish from shore. If you need to get a boat now, they're not. Oh, you're good. Yeah.
You just need to make sure you can row.
Yes, I don't have the motor yet.
Yeah.
No, but I hear what Dana is saying, because it is really hard to figure out. And so we're not here telling you that it's easy.
No,
we
God,
don't
no.
live a life of like ease by any means. And I know that you know that. But we do without a lot of things. But we are also, we're trying to figure out how can we, have all the income that we need to have solely on our homestead. And that's one thing I've been looking at and researching, is like, what other outsources are there to provide income? Because, we still work, and, there's still other things that need to be done, even with us, in the homestead life that we are doing. I don't really have the answer on how to do that, but these little steps of just not having to go out and buy your meat, not having to go and get my eggs, not having to buy new chickens every year. Those are just little steps of getting to hopefully where also you want to be, is, how to be solely self-reliant in the way of income and being able to provide. So I don't know how else to do that other than, maybe having like some kind of, I know that I was looking at a few things we talked about earlier. There's things you can do to bring in home money in on the homestead by having businesses on the side, or maybe having some online kind of job or something like that. But that's a whole nother topic. But I know that, Dana's brought it up a few times, and it is something that it stops a lot of people from making the move, because they don't want to give up that income.
No, we started the plan long before it came to this, and like, I have income from previous employment. Mm-hmm. Jenny has a business that she runs, a cottage rental business that she did before. We started cutting debt and expenses and paying down to make sure that we weren't in a lot of people probably that I worked with before my previous career thought like, you're never going to be able to do it. But we didn't have vehicle loans. We didn't have massive debt. We didn't have, things that were tying us into it. Like, I drive 30-year-old trucks. Mm-hmm. You have to make exceptions in that. And then there's other ways to profit too. You need to find your skill set to add a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to come up short or whatever, I can always go back to wrench something. Like to fix something, because that's what my skill set was before. Yeah. I mean, it's the same as probably the same as you guys. Like in your profession, if you ever get to the point where, we need to buy something extra, or we need to make a little bit more, you have to find a way to do it. And that is what it is. I mean, right now our equipment is getting older that we use every day. Like for example, our side by side is what, 10 years old, babe? Yeah, it's 10 years old. It's 2013, so it's 10 years old. It's got an issue with it right now that the fix for it's $1,800. I don't want to put $1,800 into a 10-year-old machine. So you look at a new one and it's like, whew, I don't know how I could pay for a new one off of the Homestead. It doesn't pay for a new one.
Yeah.
So if I want that, I'm going to have to find something to supplement it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just note on something? Who was it that said? Oh yeah. Okay, so Dana. Just in regards to the amount of time that you put into stuff, like into your farming and that, versus like passive income. So, I guess like what I want to say is that like we do our stuff regeneratively, so it takes us a lot of time, and we don't make that back.
Nope.
Right.
Yeah.
However, you can kind of make it more passive. So like if we were to put our cattle into, if we already had different pastures fenced and you're just basically shoving them out there, they're passive all summer. Especially if you have a stream running, right? You don't have to do anything with them really. We choose to do it differently. Same as our meat chickens. We choose to run them on pasture and move fencing every day. We could easily just put them in a little
in the barn. Throw them in the
or
barn
whatever.
and throw them feed once a day, and that's it. And
Yes.
water.
So I just want to make sure that people know that, who are looking into this going, well, I'd like to do that, but like that sounds like a lot of work. You don't have to make it a lot of work.
Yeah, that's right.
You're still going to have those instances where something happens where maybe someone gets out and it ruins your day and you got to do stuff like that.
And then you want to sell everything once a
Yeah.
week. Once a week in the summer, I want to sell everything.
Those
Yeah.
flukes happen,
Yeah.
but in general, like there are ways of doing it more passively.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, and that
That's true.
that time equates to money. And
It does.
equates to different things too, right? So it really depends on how you want to do it.
Like
So.
pigs are pretty passive when they're in the barn. When they're out on pasture, it's more important to stay on top of them. You can't leave pigs in one certain area because they'll turn into the surface of the moon, so they have to be moved. And like Jenny said, we choose to do it that way because we think that's the best way forward for the soil and the land. And I think she actually enjoys fencing. I hate it, but the electric.
It's my quiet time.
Yeah. She just does her thing, and that's a hobby at the same time.
Yes.
And I mean, if you're not enjoying it, then you probably don't want to get into it. If you're trying to do it to make money, like Dave said, start with 2 million and you'll end up with 1. But if you're doing it because you enjoy what you're doing, you're learning every day. Every day is new. And as the best laid plans as us in the summertime, like they go to waste. But in a way, it's kind of exciting because you never know what you're going to do. We come home from the store a lot in town or whatever, supply run or whatnot. And on the way up the road, I go, I wonder if anyone's out, or what do we going to have when we get home today? And we get in, and sometimes it's a joke. Sometimes everybody's exactly where you left them, and you say, yay. Or, other times it's a disaster, but it's still exciting and fun.
It has to be fun, though.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like for me, gardening is like with Jenny, she said that fencing is her quiet time. Gardening is my peaceful time. I'm out there. I'm just sitting there in nature, listening to the birds. When it's not fly season, but
yeah, exactly.
not during the black fly season. But I enjoy just being out there. And then again, with the chickens, like I know that it doesn't make a lot of profit, but I enjoy them. I enjoy watching them. I enjoy spending time with them. Like there's something that it does to you that it calms you down.
You and I would be sitting out there for hours.
We will like literally just go and sit our lawn chairs down and just sit back and watch the chickens on the grass. And I don't know, there's this, you've got to enjoy it so that it makes it worth it. Because if I didn't enjoy the chickens, I can tell you like I would not have them. I wouldn't put the effort in it.
I'm pretty well certifiably crazy, I guess. Like I've had conversations with every animal on this farm, and they're not talking back. You're just having conversations, and it's peaceful, like to go out and watch the cows, or even the horses are excellent to watch. They're hilarious most of the time. But the animals are really calming, and it's unlike being around a group of people.
Oh, being stuck in an office or in an emergency room, working it's very different.
Yeah.
So we have a couple comments there.
Oh, okay.
So one in regards to you need to get your side-by-side fixed. So Matt Smith says he knows a guy who needs a quad fixed.
Yeah. Matt's in the same boat as me. He put his bad juju on me today. His battery and his quad's all messed up, and I think he talked to me so much about it. My quad battery decided to die today. Yeah.
Dana has a comment. The work put into raising those animals equals high quality in the end.
It does.
We do it the same way, better for the animals and for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Dave Knight says, looking forward to seeing Rob wrench an old farm equipment. Dana has a comments. I really appreciate this interaction with you folks. I have no one in my circles who do what I do, nor understand why I do it.
Oh, Dave,
Dana,
we talk about that all the time. Like
I'm sure our friends think we're crazy.
They do think we're crazy. Yeah.
Family, yeah.
They won't even come from an hour away.
No. The first time some of our friends came up here, I won't name names, they came up and they had a face like, what? Why would you do that? And to me, I just thought, you know what? You're never going to get it. Yeah. And that's fine.
Well, we've been up here 6-7 years.
Yeah.
Jay?
This is our 7th winter? 2016 anyways. Winter.
And I can tell you that we have had maybe my mother's been up twice, and my brother came up once to look at our furnace, and we've had no other really relatives other than your parents.
Yeah.
Like no people like they just don't understand the lifestyle that we choose to live. So we definitely feel you, and we're so happy, Dana, that you are part of this circle, because without having a community or a group of people that understand where you're coming from, it can be a really hard lifestyle.
Nobody else understands things, like you said, better than somebody else doing it.
This is honestly like a whole topic on its
own.
I
think we can talk about it next week, Dana, and big time. I was actually down in Golden Lake like today, so we're not far, but we'll have to get together at some point, because it's so good to be connected with other people in the community, because there's questions that I can't ask anyone in our social circle, because they don't know the answer to why my pigs did this or why my garden's doing that, and nor do they think that's sane sometimes. But this community, everybody here is really helpful. Like, we bounce ideas off of you guys. All my garlic's planted off based off Kendra's knowledge, and we talk to our neighbors all the time on issues we're having with livestock or calves or whatever. And I'm so glad that we built a community like that in this, and these videos on the YouTube live series, that all the other guys that do it, kind of the ones that you guys have been dealing with, T-Han 141 and Thorhaven and Mike and Angie up at Me and You Acres, and these guys, they're so beneficial to us, learning and making less mistakes. It's been really important to
even having that Canadian YouTube homesteading circle has been really helpful. Just getting by and knowing that there's other people out here doing it and trying to make it work, and especially like moving up here with the whole gardening thing. We came from a zone 5, now like I don't know if we're zone 4B or what we are, but there was a bit of an adjustment, and we're like, well, I don't know what to do. Well, I relied on one of our neighbors, and she was telling me, well, you can't really grow this type of tomato up here. It takes too long. I wouldn't have had a clue. So we rely heavily on the knowledge that we can share as a group and a community.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
And most of some of the stuff that we see out there, it's been so helpful in terms of saving those experiences, like shared experiences with chickens, losing, predators. The predators one we did was really important to me because it was stuff that I didn't think about before we started. All of those things really benefit and help aid you in making less mistakes.
Yeah, like I know this might not really be part of topic, but I remember when we were selling some of our eggs to some of our customers, and I couldn't believe it, but these customers, like, they had no idea how they knew that the eggs weren't going to have chicks in them.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing, it's not like a funny thing or anything. It kind of is, but they had no clue the fact that, well, you're going to need it needs to be incubated, it needs to be heated for a length of time. They're like, well, how does the egg get fertilized? Like, does the rooster have to sit on it? And, so just having like these talks and discussions can make somebody not necessarily have to ask that awkward question that makes them feel stupid, but just being able to sit here and talk about it can help somebody else be like, oh, that's what it meant. So it's just really our whole goal of doing these lives is trying to help the people out there that were like us in the beginning, didn't have a clue what they were doing and didn't know who to ask, but we want to like kind of answer all those questions. And even if we don't know it, like, we're hoping that maybe we can find out where to get to know the knowledge or learn from you guys. So this is the whole purpose we're here.
Well, big time.
That's why we do YouTube.
4 years ago, I could hardly tell the difference between hay and straw.
Yeah.
And now I'm into forage analysis and like
and
grazing techniques and
stalking, like all this other crazy stuff.
Yeah. And I thought a cow was a cow. I didn't know what there was, heifers and whatever. I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
Same as with pigs and stuff. It was all new terminology.
That's kind of interesting because your father was a butcher by trade, eh? And so those terms you didn't even. It was just a cow or a pig type of thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of the same with us with chickens, though.
When I visited farms with Dad or whatever, or when I seen animals growing up, like, things were dying and we were butchering. It was I didn't know the front end. I didn't know the front end, right? I knew the back end, and that was it. I knew what the butcher cuts were, what things were look like, and I'm nowhere near done learning that. I still have so much to learn from those guys, but enough so that, like, we have beef jerky in the dehydrator right now, and that's from learning from them. But that's firsthand experience knowledge, and their generation doesn't do YouTube. We're fortunate enough to have that now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So Matt Smith has a tip on what not to do on the homestead. Whatever you do, don't try and make money off maple syrup.
No.
Do you know how many people automatically assume that we do maple syrup?
Why?
I don't know.
I don't know
what it is, but in conversation, what was it? Yesterday we got asked twice.
Yesterday, twice we were at a Addington Highlands tourism event, which was really good. I would have loved to have seen a lot more people come out because there's some really good some good knowledge sharing opportunities like that. And we met with some local businesses that are involved in the tourism industry. So it was beneficial. But they asked, "Oh, so you start maple syrup?" And like, I didn't want to say I'm too lazy to do maple syrup, so I just said, "Oh no, we don't do maple syrup." But really, that's a lot of work. That's a huge undertaking. Like, hats off to Matt and Jess. Matt and Jess are off-grid, and he's doing maple syrup, and I think he's crazy. I'm gonna
try it.
There's a comment because this ties into the crazy. It's only crazy. So Dana says it's only crazy, Rob, if a doctor says it is. Stay away from the doctors, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, they got me. Yeah.
Rob's already started.
Yeah. We're
through again and again.
Yeah. Matt and Jess there that are on there. They're down the road from you guys, but I'm gonna give him a few days helping him do syrup.
Nice.
So I'll see if he'll let me video for you guys to show his operation. I'm sure it's gonna be good because his luck is just like mine. It sounds like everything he touches breaks, just similar to me. So there'll probably be some good videos.
We did do maple syrup once, and I keep saying, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna try it again this year," and I'm like, It's
a lot of work.
We only have a couple maple trees, so we don't get a lot.
But it's a nice treat, though.
It is a nice thing to do.
If you only did it really for yourself,
yeah,
it's not.
Yeah.
That bad,
Yeah.
Dana says, I do maple syrup every year. It's one of the easier things I do here.
Nice.
If you got a good setup, it probably
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
That's great. See, he's doing something. I'm sorry. I have friends named Dana, and I can't separate.
Well, that's because there's a.
I'm surprised Dana even came back to this live.
I'm gonna leave now.
That's because there's.
No,
Dana.
okay.
Skull. Just think Skull, guy. That's it.
Well, we need to get teed up with him though.
I would like to meet him. I want to meet you, and it'll stay.
That's
Okay,
it.
so that's what we're gonna have to do.
We need to get him down to the homesteading conference.
We're gonna get you down to the homesteading conference. We'll meet up, and I did find some devil's ear lettuce, and I'm gonna get you some. So we need to meet up because I need to put a picture to the name.
What is devil's ears lettuce? Oh, we'll ask you that later. We're off topic.
It's my favorite lettuce.
Yeah, here's some devil's ear lettuce in your salad. Like, salad's bad enough. I don't need devil involved in it.
Some good news for you there, Kendra. So Dana says it takes a lot more than that to hurt my feelings, Kendra.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Anyways.
Well, I hope we kind of.
Dana is going to the conference.
Perfect.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Woo!
I think that's going to be a good conference too for anybody that's watching the YouTube
Yes.
live. It's the Eastern Ontario Homesteader Conference. Jenny and Kendra went down last year. Got a lot of good info. Met a lot of good people. A lot of shared experiences. I'm
good.
excited to go down this year. We're going to be doing a topic talking about reviving a homestead, and it'll be based on us talking about using the cattle and the pigs and the chickens to revive your pastures and your land. Through regenerative practices and how that was more effective and cost effective for us than using a tractor in most cases. So we're going to talk about that. I think that'll be a good one. There's a lot of other good topics at that conference I'm excited to learn about. So for anybody looking, that's probably a good spot to do it. And I think now's the time to get into homesteading because I'm looking at the prices of stuff. Prices of homes haven't dropped at all.
Yeah.
Anything with acreage is climbing. And I think now's the time to go. If anybody's on the fence, now is the time to get into it, especially when food prices get higher. Yeah. People are looking for more acreage, and that trend is not going away from what I see.
And that's the thing, like with everything going up like that, the cost of living going up, your price, what is it? Your income is not being increased. Like people are still making the same amount of money.
Yeah.
Well, people are still out there working for the same wage that they have been making for years, and that's not going up.
Yeah,
so
like Matt Smith says, you make about 5 cents an hour doing maple syrup his way. So it's not going anywhere. So
no, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's a good trade. I know a guy that'll trade you some stuff for that maple syrup as long as he doesn't have to do a whole pile of work. So, yeah.
Just not bacon.
Yeah, no bacon.
No trade for bacon.
It's no bacon. This farm doesn't sell bacon anymore. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, we better wrap it up though. Yeah. I hope there's some good numbers that I threw out to give you an idea of stuff, and Kendra brought some good topics, and hopefully that helps you guys with chickens, pigs, cattle, or those goats. Get away from goats.
Get away from goats.
Yeah. Good night, guys. Thank you.
Take care.